Alright, let's talk about CubeCraft again. In December of 2020, I made a video on CubeCraft that was partially unfavorable. My two main things that I disliked about the server at the time were that they only had a European server region and that their knockback was very broken. In the span of about 4.5 months, however, they've fixed both of those things and added a lot more improvements to the server, which now makes them the most popular Minecraft Bedrock Edition server almost daily. In this video, I'm going to be revisiting and reviewing CubeCraft again. I'll talk about a lot of the things that have changed and give you my opinion overall of CubeCraft in 2021. Be sure to leave a like on the video, subscribe if you're a fan of my content, and enjoy! So, for those of you that might be new here, I'll give a little bit of a disclaimer. I mainly make Hive content, and I don't play on CubeCraft that frequently. I don't hate the server, though. I just play on other servers like Hive or Hypixel because those are the ones that I'm used to and play on frequently. Regardless, everything in this video is going to be my honest opinion. I'll try and stay as unbiased as possible, but just realize that there's going to be a little bit of bias because I don't play on the server that much. With all of that being said, let's get into the first of the major changes that have happened since my last CubeCraft video, which is North American servers being added. Now, it's pretty self-explanatory what happened. CubeCraft added an NA region, which means that they have both NA and EU regions now. Up until recently, when I played on CubeCraft, I would get around 110 to 120 ping to the server, which would mean that almost everything that I do on the server would be somewhat delayed. Now, I get about 40 to 60 ping to the server, and everything is a lot more smooth and responsive. I right-click on a chest, and it opens instantly. I combo a player, and all of my hits register within a reasonable amount of time. I can safely say that the addition of North American servers to CubeCraft has made my experience on the server a lot more enjoyable. Now, there are a couple of things that I'd like to note about the addition of North American servers that you might have missed if you didn't read the forums post about it. I'll leave it linked in the description if you'd like to read it along with me. First off, the server automatically connects you to whatever region it thinks your ping will work best with. When you join a game, like Skywars for example, the server will try its best to put you in a game that's in your preferred region. However, the server prioritizes putting you into a game as quickly as possible as opposed to putting you in a game in your preferred region, which means that North American players might sometimes get into European games and European players sometimes might get into North American games. This won't happen that often, but if it's nighttime in one region and the player count is low, chances are you'll get sent to the other region for the majority of your games at that time. Also, in CubeCraft lobbies, you can choose the region that you're in so you can go hang out with your friends in other regions if you like to. However, you can't choose your region for games because, like I said earlier, the server just determines automatically what's the best region for your games. The same thing can also be said if you're partying up with people across regions. The server will just choose whatever server it thinks is best. Regardless, I am really happy with what CubeCraft has done with the North American servers being added. It's made PvP on the server a lot more enjoyable, and another thing that's made PvP a lot more enjoyable is the fact that CubeCraft has also changed up how their knockback works. Now, I know I've already done a video on CubeCraft's knockback when it was in its testing stages, but a few things have been changed and have been tweaked about the knockback since then. Also, at the time that I made that video, the knockback testing was only available in a beta Skywars mode and it wasn't released to the entire server yet. Since it released to the entire server a few months ago, however, I've had a decent amount of time to test it, and so here's what I think about it. I will definitely say that the knockback on CubeCraft is miles better than what it used to be 4 or 5 months ago. I'd say it's pretty responsive. You hit someone and they take a logical amount of knockback, and you can even get combos now, which was next to impossible on the old knockback. However, if I'm being completely honest, I really liked CubeCraft's first iteration of their beta knockback a lot better than their second iteration. If you're confused about what the first iteration of the beta CubeCraft knockback looked like, I would suggest going and watching my video on it, which will be up in the top right. Again, this was not the old 2020 CubeCraft knockback, but the first iteration of their beta testing knockback, which happened in late 2020 and most of early 2021. Regardless, we're on the second version of their new knockback now, and it can kind of be compared to vanilla knockback maybe, whereas their first iteration of their beta knockback was very similar to Hive knockback. You could get some really nice air combos, and overall the spacing of the PvP felt very similar to Hive, and I kind of felt at home in it. Obviously, however, as a Hive player, I'm going to like knockback that's similar to Hive, and not everyone is going to agree with me, especially not every CubeCraft player. I honestly think that the knockback that we have on CubeCraft right now is a pretty good compromise for everyone. The PvP sweats can still sometimes get their combos, while the inexperienced players aren't always just going going to be sent flying every single game. It seems like most people that I've talked to recently kind of agree with the fact that this knockback is pretty solid. I will say though that projectiles are still kind of scuffed on CubeCraft in my opinion. There's still a noticeable delay between when you click or shoot a projectile and when it actually releases and gets launched on the server. Watch these clips of me throwing snowballs and shooting arrows and listen for the click sounds and then compare the timing. The fact that there's this little delay just throws me off a little bit in PvP if I'm trying to get a snowball combo, or when I'm trying to time a shot with my bow or snowball. I know I brought this up in my video on the knockback and nothing was changed, so maybe it's an intentional feature, I don't know. That's about all I've got to say with the knockback on CubeCraft, and so now let's move on to some of the other things that have changed about the server since I made my last video. First off, and just recently in fact, they fully released their Battle Arena game mode, which includes free-for-all PvP and Duels. Previously, it was considered a beta game mode and they were still doing some testing and tweaking to make sure that it was a good mode to release. If you don't know what free-for-all is, it's pretty much self-explanatory. You pick a kit, choose somewhere to spawn, or choose to spawn randomly and then fight against literally everyone else because it is, in fact, a free-for-all. In my eyes, it's pretty fun to just run around mindlessly with a podcast or some music on in the background and brutally slaughter people in a block game. It's a good stress reliever for sure. Also, Duels has been released with the option to choose which kind of duel you'd like to play. Now, I should probably clarify something that I said in my video about the possibility of Duels coming to the Hive. Nothing really stands out about it too much and it seems fairly unpolished for the time being. I say this because there's only two modes. Normal, which is just a trade fest, and Overpowered, which just comes down to who eats their god apple first. At the time, I didn't realize that there were multiple duel modes, but it was just random which one you got when you queued up for a game. That problem, however, has now been eliminated by the fact that you can just choose your own duel mode if you'd like to now. Still, my bad on messing that up in the Duels video. Also, MinerWare got a pretty big update on both the Bedrock and Java CubeCraft servers. If you didn't know, MinerWare is basically CubeCraft's adaptation of party games that you see on some other servers. It's very short micro games that take like 10 or 20 seconds to complete, and whoever wins the most games or gets the most points across all of those games wins the entire game. I think it's a pretty fun game to just play with your brain off, but also to new players it can be kind of confusing. I know Rage Elixir tried it on his stream a few days ago and he had some issues with some of the games just because he had no idea how to play and there wasn't much of an explanation.
What do we do here? What? Go good door, bad door. Oh, oops. I was supposed to make it to the other side or something, right? No.
Still, MinerWare is another really solid game that I really like and I'm glad to see it's getting updates. Another big update that's happened pretty recently on CubeCraft is their 2021 Spring RPG. Literally the day that I'm recording this video, the event ended, but basically the premise of it was that you would go around the CubeCraft lobby doing different tasks for NPCs for a reward. Now if I'm being honest, the footage that I have on screen doesn't really do the RPG justice. It was really cool and really well put together, and I think it's cool that CubeCraft is experimenting with different things that aren't just minigames. Obviously, there's been egg hunts and other things in the CubeCraft lobby before, but I think this is on a completely different level and was again really cool. I'm really excited to see if CubeCraft will do another RPG, and if so, what it'll be like. Now, like I said in the beginning, CubeCraft has been consistently overtaking the Hive in terms of peak player count every day. Obviously, this is a product of a lot of things, with one of the main ones being the fact that North American servers are now a thing and appeal to a larger audience. A lot of the other stuff that I talked about in this video also contributes to it. Honestly, I am really excited to see what the future has in store for CubeCraft because I know it's going to be something big. I'm really excited to be a part of whatever that is, and so with that being said, that's going to be it for this video. I hope you all enjoyed, and if you did, please consider leaving a like and subscribing if you haven't already. If you have any thoughts about the video, let me know in a comment. Also, before we end, I'd like to give a huge shout out to all of my YouTube channel members. They support me for $4.99 a month, and they get some cool perks like getting their names displayed at the end of every video that I make. If you'd like to check out what other perks they get, or become a member for yourself, you can do so by clicking the join button next to the subscribe button, or by clicking the members link in the description. Once again, thank you to everyone for your support. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace out.